When you gonna start?
Right now. Let's get the streaming ready. So, we're going to continue with the second to last character study in the book of Job. Continue with Job's replies to the friends who's been there with him. Day 10 or day 11, whichever day this may be, with this dialogue. And it reads, I wish my great pain could be weighed. I wish all my suffering could be weighed on scales. I'm sure it would weigh more than the grains of sand on the seashore. No wonder I've been so quick to speak. The mighty one has shot me with his arrows. I have to drink their poison. God's terrors are aimed at me. Does a wild donkey cry out when it has enough grass? Does an ox call out when it has plenty of food? Is food that doesn't have any taste eaten without salt? Is there any flavor in the sap of a mallow plant? I refuse to touch that kind of food. It makes me sick. So, quick pause. Looking at this, Job opening up about how he feels about stuff. Yes.
Those are avocado. Do you want to eat those?
Job sharing quickly how he feels about certain things. This is the beginning of his expressions after Eliphaz speaks. Verse 8, I wish I could have what I am asking for. I wish God would give me what I'm hoping for. I wish he would crush me. I wish he would just cut off my life. Then I'd still have one thing to comfort me. It would be that I haven't said no to the Holy One's commands. That would give me joy in spite of my pain that never ends. So Job right there, sharing that he would find solace, I guess that's the word, if that's the word, solace or peace, contentment in the fact that he hasn't said no to whatever God commands. He hasn't turned down what God says, even though he wishes that he was no longer around. Verse 11, I'm so weak that I no longer have any hope. Things have gotten so bad that I can't wait for help anymore. Am I as strong as stone? Is my body made out of bronze? I don't have the power to help myself. All hope of success has been taken away from me. Okay. Once again, Job just saying how he feels. He's not like these things which are normally strong, stone and bronze. And even his hope for success has been removed from him. He's made a quick comparison between him and things that are known to be strong. Verse 14, a person shouldn't stop being kind to a friend. Anyone who does that stops showing respect for the mighty one. But my friends have stopped being kind to me. They are like streams that only flow for part of the year. They are like rivers that flow over their banks. When the iceberg begins to break up, the streams rise when the snow starts to melt, but they stop flowing when the dry season comes. They disappear from their stream beds when the weather warms up. Groups of traders turn away from their usual paths. They go off into their dry and empty land, and they die there. Traders from Tema look for water. Traveling merchants from Sheba also hope to find it. They become trouble because they had expect to find some. But when they arrive at the stream beds, they don't find any water at all. And now, my friends, you haven't helped me either. You see the horrible condition I'm in, and that makes you afraid. I've never said, give me something something to help me. Use your wealth to set me free. Save me from the power of my enemy. Rescue me from the power of mean people. Thoughts, comments? No. What are some things that streams kind of provide for those things surrounding the streams?
Yes, sustenance. Yeah, live without, you know, streams like water.
Yeah.
Yeah, live without water. You need it.
Mm-hmm.
Vital life. Yes, I don't know about streams. You know, there's streams where there's very little water going through the rocks, and streams that could probably be 50 feet or more long and deep. I don't know.
I see here, what stands out to me is the same streams that provide water, life, comfort on a hot day, for example, during rough times, as compared to the friends or the expectation Job had for his friends, that they're failing in this area to provide him comfort during this dry time, to provide him, I guess, hope in life, because he did talk about hope quite a bit. You know, he feels hopeless. So this is a direct, I don't know if you want to call it a jab or a direct acknowledgement or an analysis on Job's part towards his friends. But up until this point, the only one who spoken was Eliphaz, and he wasn't as stern as he was in his last speaking when we read his character study. But Job is speaking about them like they've had nothing but bad against him, kind of. And he also points out, like, he's not asking for their sympathy, which is something interesting that I noticed. He's not asking for them to use their money and their wealth to save him for what he's going through. Kind of revealing his heart here in verse 24. He says, "Teach me, then I'll be quiet. Show me what I've done wrong. Honest words are so painful, but your reasoning doesn't prove anything. Are you trying to correct what I'm saying? Are you treating my hopeless words like nothing but wind? You would even cast lots for those whose fathers have died. You would even trade away your closest friend." Like verse 25 makes it look like Job took what the first guy said and understood it as all of your knowledge and all of your wisdom to respond to me saying that maybe I've done something wrong. Doesn't prove anything. He doesn't help either way. Because in verse 24 he says, "Teach me and I'll be quiet. Show me what I've done wrong." He's like, just be direct with me. Even though honest words are painful, kind of.
Well, then you disagree with it anyway.
Right? True.
Mommy,
Verse 28.
I was there one that big chicken.
"But now, please look at me. Would I tell you a lie right here in front of you?
Mommy,
Stop what you're saying. Don't be so unfair. Think it over again. You are trying to make my honesty away. You are trying to take my honesty away from me. Has my mouth spoken anything that is evil? Do my lips say any things that are hateful?" Chapter 7. "Don't all human beings have to work hard on this earth? Aren't their days like the days of hired workers? I've been like a slave who longs for the evening shadows to come, the time of rest. I've been like a hired worker who is waiting to be paid. I've been given several months that were useless to me. My nights have been filled with suffering. When I lie down, I think, how long will it be before I can get up? The night drags on. I toss and turn until sunrise. My body is covered with worms and sores. My skin is broken. I have boils all over it.
Is this Job?
This is Job still speaking, yeah.
Where you get the boils from?
Well, in chapter 2, it says that Satan was able to come and affect his health.
And he wouldn't curse the boils.
Yeah, and he would, yeah. He said he's okay because you haven't touched him physically himself. That's what Satan says. Job is still hasn't cursed you, God, because you haven't done anything to his body or anything to him personally. Other than items he lost, a man will protect his life or try to, will curse God if his life is taken, is hindered. So, verse 6, my days pass by faster than a weaver can work. They come to an end. I don't have any hope. God, remember that my life is only a breath. I'll never be happy again. The eyes that see me now won't see me anymore. You will look for me, but I'll be gone. When a cloud disappears, I'll be gone. It's gone forever. And anyone who goes down to the grave never returns. He never comes home again. Even his own family doesn't remember him. So that's like along the lines of Ecclesiastes, when Solomon is writing everything is vanity. He's gotten to the point of many riches, many wives, many things, many objects and items, but he realizes it was all a waste of his time to get it because there's no everlasting or eternal value in it. Job kind of sounds like that right here. When a person is gone, eventually their lineage, their family members forget him. I don't know who my great grandfather is to the ninth. Don't even know his name. Probably could find it. We have things out there that helps us find it, but
well, if people aren't registering children with names and then you picking up the name of this is the master you had then, and how you gonna keep all that straight?
True. Verse 11, so I won't keep quiet. When I am suffering greatly, I will speak out. When my spirit is bitter, I will tell you how unhappy I am. Am I the ocean? Am I the sea monster? If I'm not, why do you guard me so closely? Sometimes I think my bed will comfort me. I think my couch will keep me from being unhappy. But even then, you send me dreams that frighten me. You send me visions that terrify me. So I would rather choke to death. That would be better than living in this body of mine. I hate my life. I don't want to live forever. Leave me alone. My days don't mean anything to me. This is that depression part of Job. Whatever percentage of depression he has. What are human beings that you think so much of them? This is this is Job referring to God. What are human beings that you think so much of them? What are they that you pay so much attention to them? You check up on them every morning. You test them every moment. Won't you ever look away from me? Won't you leave me alone even for 1 second? If I've really sinned, then tell me what I've done to you. You see everything we do. Why do you shoot your arrows at me? Have I become a problem to you? Why don't you forgive the wrong things I've done? Why don't you forgive me for my sins? I'll soon lie down in the dust of my grave. You will search for me, but I'll be gone. So Job definitely questioned God. Job definitely had depression going on in other areas. Soon we'll read some of the anger Job has. Bildad, we've read. He only says one thing in this one chapter. This is Job's reply to Bildad. We haven't read this yet. I'm sure that what you have said is true. But how can human beings prove to God they are not guilty? They might wish to argue with him, but they couldn't answer him even once in 1,000 times. His wisdom is deep. His power is great. No one opposes him and comes away unharmed. He moves mountains and they don't even know it. When he is angry, He turns them upside down. He shakes the earth loose from its place. He makes its pillars tremble. When he tells the sun not to shine, it doesn't. He turns off the light of the stars. He's the only one who can spread out the heavens. He alone can walk on the waves of the ocean. He made the Big Dipper and Orion. He created Pleiades and the southern stars. He does wonderful things that can't be understood. He does miracles that can't even be counted. When he passed by me, I can't see him. When he goes past me, I can't recognize him. If he takes something, who can stop him? Who would dare to ask him, "What are you doing?" God doesn't hold back his anger. Even the helpers of the sea monster Rahab bowed in fear at his feet. So God is untouchable when it comes down to whatever God wants to do. Job recognizes this. Reading from continuing verse 14. So how can I disagree with God? How can I possibly argue with him? Even if I hadn't done anything wrong, I couldn't answer him. I can only beg my judge to have mercy on me. Suppose I call out to him and he answered. I don't believe he'd listen to me. He would send a storm to crush me. He'd increase my wounds without any reason. He wouldn't let me catch my breath. He'd make my life very bitter. If it's a matter of strength, he is mighty. And if it's a matter of being fair, who could dare to bring charges against him? Even if I hadn't sinned, what I said would prove me guilty. Even if I were honest, my words would show that I'm wrong. Even though I'm honest, I'm not concerned about myself. I hate my own life. It all amounts to the same thing. That's why I say God destroys honest people and sinful people alike. Suppose a plague brings sudden death. Then he laughs when those who haven't sinned lose hope. Suppose a nation falls into the power of sinful people. Then God makes its judges blind to the truth. If he isn't the one doing it, who is? God. My days race by like a runner. They fly away without seeing any joy. They speed along like papyrus boats. They are like eagles swooping down on their food. Suppose I say, I'll forget about all my problems. I'll change my frown into a smile. Then I'd still be afraid. I'd go on suffering.
Is that me pushing on the table?
That's because I know you would say I had done something wrong. In fact, you have already said I am guilty. So why should I struggle without any reason? Suppose I clean myself with soap. Suppose I wash my hands with cleanser. Even then you would throw me into a muddy pit, and even my clothes would hate me. God isn't a mere human being like me. I can't answer him. We can't take each other to court. I wish someone would settle matters between us. I wish someone would bring us together. I wish someone would keep God from punishing me. Then his terror wouldn't frighten me anymore. I would speak up without being afraid of him. But as things stand now, I can't do that.
He fears the Lord.
Mm-hmm.
And the fear of the Lord keeps him from saying things that wouldn't please him.
Mm-hmm. Keep him from cursing God. Job's starting to come up to me as 50% depressed now. Maybe 20 until further notice. 50% depressed, 25% curious, 25% angry. But definitely 50% depressed, because so far every passage after the situation has shown some level of depression or wishing that he was no longer even around to experience what he's experiencing. Job 10. I'm sick of living, so I'll talk openly about my problems. I speak out because my spirit is bitter. I say to God, don't find me guilty. Instead, tell me what charges you are bringing against me. Does it make you happy when you crush me? Does it please you to turn your back on what you have made? While you do those things, you smile on the plans of sinful people. You don't have human eyes. You don't see as people see. Your days aren't like the days of a mere human being. Your years aren't even like the years of a strong man. So you search for my mistakes. You look for my sin. You already know I am not guilty. No one can save me from your power. Your hands shaped me and made me. You are going to destroy me now? Remember, you molded me like clay. So you're going to turn me back into dust? Didn't you pour me out like milk? Didn't you form me like cheese? Didn't you put skin and flesh on me? Didn't you sew me together with bones and muscles? You gave me life. You were kind to me. You took good care of me. You watched over me. But here's what you hid in your heart. Here's what you had on your mind. If I sinned, you would be watching me. You wouldn't let me go without punishing me. If I were guilty, how terrible that would be for me. Even if I haven't sinned, I can't be proud of what I've done. That's because I'm so full of shame. I'm drowning in my suffering. If I become proud, you hunt me down like a lion. You show me your mighty power against me. You bring new witnesses against me. You become more and more angry with me. You use your power against me again and again. Why did you bring me out of my mother's body? I wish I had died before anyone saw me. I wish I had never been born. I wish I had been carried straight from my mother's body to the grave. Aren't my few days almost over? Leave me so I can have a moment of joy. Turn away before I go to the place I can't return from. It's the land of gloom and total darkness. It's the land of darkest night and total darkness and disorder. There even the light is like darkness. There even the light is like darkness. Zophar speaks. We read this. That's the only time Zophar speaks. And then Job replies to Zophar. You people think you are the only ones who matter. You are sure that wisdom will die with you. But I have a brain just like you. I'm as clever as you are. In fact, everyone knows as much as you do. My friends laugh at me all the time, even though I called out to God and He answered. My friends laugh at me, even though I'm honest and right. People who have an easy life look down on those who have problems. They think trouble comes only to those whose feet are slipping. Why doesn't anyone bother the tents of the robbers? Why do those who make God angry remain secure? They are in God's hands. But ask the animals what God does and they'll teach you. Or ask the birds in the sky. They will tell you. Or speak to the earth. It will teach you. It will let the fish in the ocean educate you. Are there any of these creatures that don't know what the powerful hand of the Lord has done? He holds the life of every creature in His hand. He controls the breath of every human being. Our tongues tell us what tastes good and what doesn't. Our ears tell us what's true and what isn't. Old people are wise. Those who live a long time have understanding. Wisdom and power belong to God. Advice and understanding also belong to Him. What He tears down can't be rebuilt. The people He puts in prison can't be set free. If He holds back the water, everything dries up. If He lets the water loose, it floods the land. Strength and understanding belong to Him. Those who tell lies and those who believe them also belong to Him. He removes the wisdom of rulers and leaders and leads them away. He makes judges look foolish. He sets people free from the chains that kings put them in. Then He dresses the kings in the clothes of slaves. He removes the authority of priests and leads them away. He removes from their positions officials who have been in control for a long time. He shuts the mouths of trusted advisors. He takes away the understanding of elders. He looks down on proud leaders. He takes away the strength of those who are mighty. He tells people the secrets of darkness. He brings total darkness out into light. He makes nations great and then He destroys them. He makes nations grow, and then he scatters them. He takes away the understanding of the leaders of the earth. He makes them wander in a desert where no one lives. Without any light, they feel their way along in darkness. God makes them unsteady like those who get drunk. My eyes have seen everything God has done. My ears have heard it and understood it. What you know, I also know. I'm as clever as you are. In fact, I long to speak to the Mighty One. I want to argue my case with God. But you spread lies about me and take away my good name. If you are trying to heal me, you aren't very good doctors. I wish you would keep your mouth shut. Then people would think that you were wise. Listen to my case. Listen as I make my appeal. Will you say evil things in order to help God? Will you tell lies for him? Do you want to be on God's side? Will you argue his case for him? Would it turn out well if he looked you over carefully? Could you fool him as you might fool human beings? He would certainly hold you responsible if you took his side in secret. Wouldn't his glory terrify you? Wouldn't the fear of him fall on you? Your sayings are as useless as ashes. The sayings you give are as weak as clay. So be quiet and let me speak. Then I won't care what happens to me. Why do I put myself in danger? Why do I take my life in my hands? Even if God kills me, I will still put my hope in him. I'll argue my case in front of him. No matter how things turn out, I'm sure I'll still be saved. After all, no ungodly person would dare to come into his court. Listen carefully to what I am saying. Pay close attention to my words. I've prepared my case, and I know I'll be proved right. Can others bring charges against me? If they can, I'll keep quiet and die. God, I won't hide from you. Here are the only two things I want. Stop treating me this way and stop making me so afraid. Then send for me and I'll answer. Or let me speak and you reply. How many things have I done wrong? How many sins have I committed? Show me my crime. Show me my sin. Why do you turn your face away from me? Why do you think of me as your enemy? I'm already like a leaf that is blown by the wind. Are you going to terrify me even more? I'm already like dry straw. Are you going to keep on chasing me? You write down bitter things against me. You make me suffer for the sins I committed when I was young. You put my feet in chains. You watch every step I take. You do it by putting marks on the bottom of my feet. People waste away like something that is rotten. They are like clothes that are eaten by moths.
That was your common God.
Yeah. This is still Job. Human beings only. Pause. So this is Job after the three friends finished speaking. This is the third chapter of him replying to after Zophar speaks, and he's revealed that essentially he's caught their like sly remarks as far as maybe he's done something wrong. In the beginning of chapter 13, he responds to that in a sense like I know what you're trying to say about me. I know what you're trying to infer, that I'm in this predicament for what I did wrong. Right now, when I talked about what percentage is what with Job as a character study, because I know he has depression. He shows it almost every chapter. He shows some area, a portion of depression. I'm leaning towards 50% depressed.
Yeah, it would be
Probably more. There's a percentage of anger that hasn't fully come out yet. There's a percentage of curiosity, wondering. That shows in almost every chapter that Job speaks, he responds to God, but he slowly but surely starts to sound like a lawyer to plead his cause. Though at the same time, he knows that it's frivolous to try to lawyer against God because God has final say if God is in full control. So that's what most of these chapters have been. Almost finished. Human beings have only a few days to live. Their lives are full of trouble. They grow like flowers, then they dry up. They are like shadows that quickly disappear. God, do you even notice them? Will you let them appear in your court? Who can bring what is pure from something that isn't pure? No one. You decide how long anyone will live. You have established the number of his months. You have set a limit to the number of his days. So look away from him. Leave him alone. Let him put in his time like a hired worker. At least there is hope for a tree. If it's cut down, it will begin to grow again. New branches will appear on it. Its roots may grow old in the ground. Its stump may die in the soil. But when it smells water, it will begin to grow. It will send out new growth like a plant. No man is like that. When he dies, he is buried in the grave. He takes his last breath, and then he is gone. Water dries up from lakes. Riverbeds become empty and dry. In the same way, people lie down and never get up. People won't wake or rise from their sleep until the heavens are gone. I wish you would hide me in a grave. I wish you would cover me up until your anger passes by. I wish you would set the time for me to spend in the grave, and then bring me back up. If someone dies, will they live again? All the days of my hard work, I will wait for the time when you give me new life. You will call out to me, and I will answer you. You will long for the person your hands have made. Then you will count every step I take, but you won't keep track of my sin. The wrong things I've done will be sealed up in a bag. You will wipe out my sins by forgiving them. He still shows the percentage of hope. A mountain wears away and crumbles. A rock is moved from its place. Water wears away stones. Storms wash away soil. In the same way, you destroy a person's hope. He just showed that he had hope, and then he talked about his hope was destroyed. You overpower them completely, and then they're gone. You change the way they look and send them to their graves. If their children are honored, they don't even know it. If their children are dishonored, they don't even see it. All they feel is the pain of their own bodies. They are full of sadness only for themselves.
Good question. So he's Jewish, right?
Job? No.
He's not Jew?
Mm-mm.
What is he?
This was written around the time of Abraham. Maybe even before
So
Abraham.
he doesn't, there's nothing about the resurrection.
Mm-mm.
But then, so how is he, you talk about being raised from the dead?
Talking about having new life. But at the same time, just before that, he says he goes down, and unlike a tree, where a tree springs forth again, man doesn't. So he's speaking in general.
In the
same chapter, he says something close about a resurrection. No, there was no well-known understanding of resurrection during Abraham's time, or Job's time. So, everything that Job has been saying also is blanketed. It's like saying, God, you control everything. Tomorrow it's going to rain. And tomorrow it's not going to rain. Because you control everything. There's nothing you don't control. There's certain things Job speaks that is like concrete. Like Job has not said, God, you're in control over everything, and then turn around in the same chapter, God, you don't control anything. He's never said that. You know what I'm saying? It's other things where he thinks he knows, but he's not sure of. He speaks both ways. A man is like, a cloud is gone, doesn't come back, but then God give me new life. A man is not like a tree which sprouts up again after it gets water, but it's like a riverbed. When it's dead. But if you put water back down a riverbed that was once dead, doesn't it bring it back to life? You know what I'm saying? Like, so it's like he speaks from both sides. And Job, I don't believe the purpose of Job. I believe there's a purpose in the writing what God inspired every book in the Bible. I don't think trying to gather specific verse wisdom is one of them. You know, because a lot of the friends speak double-sided, sound like they're on his side, don't understand what's going on with him, but then accuse him slightly. Like, that's not a good example for us to do as friends. Job is very depressed. That's definitely not an example we want to follow. And not every book in the Bible is an example of something to do, like we know.
So the overall book, do you think it's just show God's provision, or what do you think the overall means of the book?
Well, not fully there yet, but I feel
Put one right there on the table. Oh, your cup for water in the room. Your cup.
just like I'm leaning towards one of the friends kind of being nice to him, but kind of learned, not that he was nice, he just didn't accuse him as bad as the other ones. Not that he was relinquishing Job of any error, but more so he's a positive neutral versus a negative neutral like the first friend. Go ahead. I think that we've already come across I believe the reasoning of the core for this book is the understanding of where God is positioned during our calamities, our negative situations, our hardships, our troubles. Though Job is accusing that God is the one who does this, and people can take that scripture and totally run with it without context of what actually happened in the first 2 chapters. But Job is experiencing this thing and is attributing it directly to God. But we know, because we're backstage or sitting with the author as we read this from chapter 1 and chapter 2, and we're not in it with them, that God's hand is not the one who did it. It's Satan. It's the deceiver. It's the adversary who went forth to do these things. And I'm sure Satan loves to hear that a person is accusing God for these things. Like even nowadays, some people accuse God for certain things that God has not done. But I think the book is going to end with the message that God can do anything. Anything. And there's no way for us to box God in, or there's no way for us to truthfully or accurately say we know exactly how God is going to respond, how God is going to act. Huh? Well, we know exactly how he feels. We don't know how he's going to respond to sin.
No, we said God can do anything.
Oh, yeah. That's, yeah. Job's reply to, I think this is Eliphaz's second, speech, where he kind of gets more direct on Job. Job replied, "I've heard many of these things before. All of you are terrible at comforting me. Your speeches go on forever. Won't they ever end? What's wrong with you? Why do you keep on arguing? If you and I change places, I could say the same things you are saying. I could make fine speeches against you. I could shake my head at you. But what I might say would give you hope. My words to comfort would help you. If I speak, it doesn't help me. And if I am quiet, my pain goes away. God has worn me out completely. He has destroyed my whole family. People can see the condition he has put me in. My thin body stands as a witness against me. God is angry with me. He attacks me and tears me up. He grinds his teeth at me. He stares at me as if he were my enemy. People make fun of me. They slap my face and laugh at me. All of them join together against me. God has turned me over to sinful people. He has handed me over to them. Everything was going well with me, but he broke me into pieces like a clay pot. He grabbed me by the neck and crushed me. He has taken aim at me. He shoots his arrows at me from all sides. Without pity, he stabs me in the kidneys. He spills my insides on the ground. He smashes through me as if I were a wall. He crushes me like a fighting man. I've sewed rough clothing for my skin. All I can do is sit here in the dust. My face is red from crying. I have dark circles under my eyes. but I haven't harmed anyone. My prayers to God are pure. Earth, please don't cover up my blood. May God always hear my cry for help. Even now, my witness is in heaven. The one who speaks up for me is there. My go-between is my friend. As I pour out my tears to God, he makes his appeal to God to help me, as a person pleads for a friend.
Okay, see, you know.
Only a few years will pass by, then I'll take the path of no return.
See, even in this small passage, it's almost like, when the prophets were prophesying certain things, they didn't know they were speaking of the Messiah or speaking of something before, after. But even whenever he's saying his friend is in heaven, or he's the go between a person, it's almost like he's talking about Christ being a mediator between him and God. But he doesn't even know about it. He doesn't know.
Yeah.
I wanted milk.
Okay, even like the prophets, because the prophets not really knowing what they're saying while they're saying it. So,
Yeah.
I wonder if even in the midst of all of he's saying stuff that he don't really know that's contributed to what's going to come later on with Christ.
I think so. I think that he's speaking from an intangible, unexplainable awareness in the heart and the souls of us that's spiritually there, but we can't put our finger on it, and we can't comprehend fully what it is. It's not until, for us even, we have scripture to break down and understand some of the groanings, some of the inklings. He's just blurting out whatever comes to heart, whatever comes to mind.
It's funny because I can remember, and I've heard of even stories of other people in the world, and then they'll speak stuff and not even realize they're speaking what the word says. And I've had this before I got maturity in Christ, that something will happen, not realizing that, oh, that's in the Bible. I didn't even know that.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Verse 17, my strength is almost gone. I won't live much longer. A grave is waiting for me. People who make fun of me are all around me. I'm forced to watch as they attack me with their words. God, please pay the price to have me set free. Who else will put up money for me? You have closed the minds of those who are trying to comfort me. They don't understand that They don't understand that I haven't done anything wrong. So don't let them win the argument. Suppose someone tells lies about their friends to get a reward. Then their own children will suffer for it. God has made an example of me. People spit in my face. My eyes have grown weak because I'm so sad. My body is so thin, it hardly casts a shadow. People who claim to be honest are shocked when they see me. Those who think they haven't sinned are stirred up against me. They think I'm ungodly. But godly people will keep doing what is right. Those who have clean hands will grow stronger. Come on, all of you, try again. I can't find a wise person among you. My life is almost over. My plans are destroyed. Yet the desire of my heart turned night into day. Even though it's dark, light is nearby. Suppose the only home I can hope for is a grave. And suppose I make my bed in the darkness of death. Suppose I say to the grave, you are like a father to me. And suppose I say to its worms, you are like a mother and sister to me. Then what hope do I have? Who can give me any hope? Will hope go down to the gates of death with me? Will we go down together into the dust of the grave? And Bildad's second speech, I think he talks one chapter if I remember, and then directly back to Job. It's almost finished.
I was just going to have more of his things.
Job's reply to Bildad's second speech. How long will you people make me suffer? How long will you crush me with your words? You have already accused me of many things. You have attacked me without feeling any shame. Suppose it's true that I've gone down the wrong path. Then it's my concern, not yours. Suppose you want to place yourself above me. Suppose you want to use my shame to prove I'm wrong. Then I want you to know that God hasn't treated me right. In fact, He has captured me in His net. I cry out, someone harmed me, but I don't get any reply. I call out for help, but I'm not treated fairly. God has blocked my way, and I can't get through. He has made my path so dark I can't see where I'm going. He has taken my wealth away from me. He has stripped me of my honor. He tears me down on every side until I'm gone. He puts up the roots of my hope as if I were a tree. He pulls up the roots of my hope as if I were a tree. His anger burns against me. He thinks I'm one of his enemies. His troops march toward me in force. They come at me from every direction. They camp around my tent. God has caused my family to desert me. The people I used to know are now strangers to me. My relatives have gone away. My closest friends have forgotten me. My guests and my female servants think of me as a stranger. They look at me as if I were an outsider. I send for my servant, but he doesn't answer. He doesn't come, even though I beg him to. My wife can't stand the way my breath smells. My own family won't have anything to do with me. Even little children mock me. When I appear, they make fun of me. All my close friends hate me. Those I love have turned against me. I'm nothing but skin and bones. I've barely escaped death. Have pity on me, my friends. Please have pity. God has struck me down with his powerful hand. Why do you chase after me as he does? Aren't you satisfied with what you have done to me already? I wish my words were written down. I wish they were written in a book. I wish they were cut into lead with an iron tool. I wish they were carved in a rock forever. I know that my Redeemer lives. In the end, he will stand on the earth. Though my skin will be destroyed, in my body I'll see God. I myself will see him with my own eyes. I'll see him, and he won't be a stranger to me. How my heart longs for that day. You might say, let's keep bothering Job. After all, he's the cause of all his suffering. But you should be afraid when God comes to judge you. He'll be angry. He'll punish you with his sword. Then you will know that he is the judge. Zophar's second and Zophar's last. Job's reply to Zophar. Listen carefully to what I'm saying to you. Let that be the comfort you people give me. Put up with me while I speak. After I've spoken, you can make fun of me. I'm not arguing with mere human beings. So why shouldn't I be angry and uneasy? Look at me and be shocked. Put your hand over your mouth and stop talking. When I think about these things, I'm terrified. My whole body trembles. Why do sinful people keep on living? The older they grow, the richer they get. They see their children grow up around them. They watch their family grow larger. Their homes are safe. They don't have to be afraid. God isn't punishing them. Every time their bulls mate, their cows become pregnant. And their calves don't die before they are born. Sinful people send their children out like a flock of lambs. Their little ones dance around. They sing to the music of tambourines and lyres. They have a good time while flutes are being played. Those who are evil spend their years living well. They go down to their graves in peace. But they say to God, leave us alone. We don't want to know how you want us to live. Who is the mighty one? Why should we serve him? What would we get if we prayed to him? But they aren't in control of their own success. So I don't pay attention to their plans. I'm going to stop right there real quick. So Job is definitely doing what we would normally do if something bad is happening to us and we're comparing ourselves to people who don't serve God. Like, how come this is happening to me, but this person over here is committing adultery, or this person over here is lying and stealing, or this person over there is wrong for doing A, B, C, D, and I don't do those things. That comparison, like justification thing, like it's not fair.
Yeah.
You know, why does this have to happen to me when I've been trying to do what you say, or I've been living good, or I've been staying out of trouble? Just like kids, you know, when a parent corrects one, but so and so was doing such and such, and but such and such did this and this and that, and you know, trying to bring other people down with them. You got anything?
Essentially, I still feel like even with that, he's essentially doing what his friends are doing, looking at his life and drawing a conclusion. Because he doesn't know. Like it looks like they're living a good life and stuff, but he don't really know. Just assuming.
Yeah, sure.
Like his friends are.
How often are their lamps blown out? How often does trouble come to them? How often does God punish them when he's angry? How often are they like straw blowing in the wind? How often are they like tumbleweeds swept away by a storm? People say, God stores up the punishment of evil people for their children. But let God punish the evil people themselves. Then they'll learn a lesson from it. Let their own eyes see how they are destroyed. Let them drink the wine of the mighty one's anger. What do they care about the families they leave behind? What do they care about them when their lives come to an end? Can anyone teach God anything? After all, he judges even the angels in heaven. Some people die while they are still very strong. They are completely secure. They have an easy life. They are well fed. Their bodies are healthy. Others die while their spirits are bitter. They've never enjoyed anything good. Side by side, they lie in the dust of death. The worms in their graves cover all of them. I know exactly what you people are thinking. I know you are planning to do bad things to me. You are saying to yourselves, where is the great man's house now? Where are the tents where his evil family lived? Haven't you ever asked questions of those who travel? Haven't you paid any attention to their stories? They'll tell you that sinful people are spared from the day of trouble. They'll say that those people are saved from the day when God will judge. Who speaks against them for the way they act? Who pays them back for what they've done? Their bodies will be carried to their graves. Guards will watch over the tombs. The soil in the valley will be pleasant to those who have died. Many people will walk along behind their bodies. Many others will walk in front of them. So how can you comfort me with your speeches? They don't make any sense at all. Your answers are nothing but lies.
I don't know how the friends feel. So hearing that, this is everybody's gone, but y'all still here talking. Why? Leave me alone.
Yeah, that's essentially what he's saying. Like, I lost my family, this, that, house, everything, and y'all still here. Like, and y'all not comforting me. Y'all not making it no better. Pretty much. That was the last of his friends. I think this is the last of Job, and then God speaks. Even today, my problems are more than I can handle. In spite of my groans, God's hand is heavy on me. I wish I knew where I could find him. I wish I could go to the place where he lives. I would state my case to him. I would give him all my arguments. I'd find out what his answers would be. I think about what he would say to me. Would he strongly oppose me? No. He wouldn't bring charges against me. There are honest people who can prove to him they're not guilty. There, my judge would tell me once and for all that I'm not guilty. But if I go to the east, God isn't there. If I go to the west, I don't find him. When he's working in the north, I don't see him there. When he turns to the south, I don't see him there either. But he knows every step I take. When he has tested me, I'll come out as pure as gold. My feet has closely followed his steps. I've stayed on his path without turning away. I haven't disobeyed his commands. I've treasured his words more than my daily bread. But he's the only God who can oppose him. He does anything he wants to do. He carries out his plans against me, and he still has many other plans just like them. That's why I'm so terrified. When I think about all of this, I am afraid of him. God has made my heart weak. The Mighty One has filled me with terror. But even the darkness of death won't make me silent. When the darkness of the grave covers my face, I won't be quiet. Kind of boasting there. No, prideful, confident. So confident that he says that will God strongly oppose him? No. He's like so confident of his position with God. So sure. I never saw, I knew the feeling of it because of God's response, but I never read it in this sense where it says like, if he were to bring up his arguments to God, would God strongly oppose him? And then he answers it himself, no. He said there, honest people can prove to him they're not guilty. So he sincerely, sternly believes he's done absolutely nothing wrong at all for his position, for his predicament. He's got his case ready to bring up against God, just to prove himself wrong. To prove himself without error. I think this is the last one. Why doesn't the Mighty One set a time for judging sinful people? Why do those who know him have to keep waiting for that day? People move their neighbors' boundary stones. They steal their neighbors' flocks. They take away their donkeys that belong to children whose fathers have died. They take a widow's ox until she has paid what she owes. They push those who are needy out of their way. They force all the poor people in the land to go into hiding. The poor are like wild donkeys in the desert. They have to go around looking for food. The dry and empty land provides the only food for their children. The poor go into the fields and get a little grain. They gather up what is left in the vineyards of sinners. The poor don't have any clothes, so they spend the night naked. They don't have anything to cover themselves in the cold. They are soaked by the mountain rains. They hug the rocks because they don't have anything to keep them warm. Children whose fathers have died are turned away from their mothers. A poor person's baby is taken away to pay back what is owed. The poor don't have any clothes. They go around naked. They carry bundles of grain, but they still go hungry. They work very hard as they crush olives. They stomp on grapes in wine presses, but they are still thirsty. The groans of those who are dying are heard from the city. Those who are wounded cry out for help, but God doesn't charge anyone with doing what is wrong. Some people hate it when daylight comes. In the daytime, they never walk outside. When daylight is gone, murderers get up. They kill poor people and those who are in need. In the night, they sneak around like robbers. Those who commit adultery wait until the sun goes down. They think, no one will see us. They keep their faces hidden. In the dark, thieves break into houses, but by day they shut themselves in. They don't want anything to do with the light. Midnight is like morning to them. The terrors of darkness are their friends, but sinners are like bubbles on the surface of water. Their shape of their land is under God's curse. Their share of their land is under God's curse. So no one goes to their vineyards. Melted snow disappears when the air is hot and dry. The sinners disappear when they go down into their graves. Even their mothers forget them. The worms in their graves eat them up. No one remembers sinful people anymore. They are cut down like trees. They mistreat women who aren't able to have children. They aren't kind to widows. But God is powerful. He even drags away people who are strong. When he rises up against them, they can never be sure they are safe. God might let them rest and feel secure, but his eyes see how they live. For a little while they are honored, then they are gone. They are brought low, and they die like everyone else. They are cut off like heads of grain. Who can prove that what I am saying is wrong? Who can prove that my words aren't true? So this is a weird to me a contrast in his last. I think this is the last reply for Job, because it's like he's number one lumping. He's made a case for the poor and that this is what the poor are, right? But then he lumps in adulterers, murderers, just like people who mistreat or kill or deal with the poor wrongly, like in the same boat. But he's also kind of saying like these people, he feels like they're left alone. He feels like nothing happens to them. So it's like almost, it's like an anti-case of, if I were so evil and wicked, God would leave me alone. You know what I'm saying? That's what I noticed about this one, this time reading it. Like, why does he keep bringing up bad people get away with things? You know? Partly because he's dealing with stuff and bad people are still okay. But almost like this one makes it feels like he's saying, in a sense, if I were really that bad, God wouldn't do this to me. Because look at all the other bad people he don't do this to. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's like it's like a weird reverse comparison. Another thing that stuck out to me, the poor kind of sound like the low paid worker, because it's talking about the work that they do, vine press and stuff. Like they don't have enough food essentially, or no food. They don't have clothes. They don't have like things that rich people can easily get. So to me, it reminded me of what's the one to 150 that what's the one?
The Harris?
No. They're fighting for $15 an hour wages. Yeah, the minimum. Like to me, it almost sounded like part of this was talking about those who on minimum wage. The minimum wage, they barely have enough for this. They barely have enough for that.
Well, once you talk about the poor, I'm gonna.
He talks about people stealing people's stuff. And he push people who are needy out the way. It's like a transition from pushing people needy out the way into those who are needy, the poor. They force all poor people in the land to go into hiding. It's like he's putting out a case for them. I don't see no connection to Job, because he was a rich man. When I was reading it, it did come off to me like he is aware of this thing happening. Don't know if he did anything against it to stop it, but it's like saying him as a rich man is aware of what the poor go through. So it's not like he's not in touch with the struggles of other people, even though he was rich. All right, two more. This is heavy lifting. Almost done. Job replied, Bildad, you haven't helped people who aren't strong. You haven't saved people who are weak. You haven't offered advice to those who aren't wise. In fact, you haven't understood anything at all. Who helped you say these things? Whose spirit was speaking through you? The spirits of the dead are suffering greatly. So are those that are under the waters, and so are all those that live in them. The place of the dead is naked in the sight of God. The grave lies open in front of him. He spreads out the northern skies over empty space. He hangs the earth over nothing. He wraps up water in his clouds. They are heavy, but they don't burst. He covers the face of the full moon. He spreads his clouds over it. He marks out the place where the sky meets the sea. He marks out the boundary between light and darkness. The pillars of the heavens shake. They are terrified when his anger blazes out. With his power, he stirs up the oceans. In his wisdom, he cut the sea monster Rahab to pieces. His breath made the skies bright and clear. His hand wounded the serpent that glides through the sea. Those are only on the edges of what he does. They are only the soft whispers that we hear from him. So who can understand how powerful he is? This one started off as Job directly responding to Bildad. After Bildad's third response, which was the hardest and the most direct response, this is the first time he actually responds by name to one of the friends. And he says, "You haven't helped people who aren't strong." He's only helped the strong people. "You haven't saved people who are weak." He's only saved the people who are not weak. "You haven't offered advice to those who aren't wise." He's trying to advise Job, and he believes that he's on the same level. They both believe they're on the same level with each other. "In fact, you haven't understood anything at all. Who helped you say these things? Whose spirit was speaking through you?" Job questions. Then he goes back into a glorifying God statement of how powerful God is. This is the last and final response from Job. This is where we stop. That's what I thought. But this says it is the final response. Job continued to speak. He said, "God hasn't treated me fairly. The Mighty One has made my life bitter. You can be sure that God lives, and here's something else you can be sure of. As long as I have life and God gives me breath, my mouth won't say evil things. My lips won't tell lies. I'll never admit you people are right. Until I die, I'll say I'm telling the truth. I'll continue to say I'm right. I'll never let go of that. I won't blame myself as long as I live. May my enemies suffer like sinful people. May my attackers be punished like those who aren't fair. What hope do ungodly people have when their lives are cut short? What hope do they have when God takes away their lives? God won't listen to their cry. When troubles come on them, they won't take delight in the Mighty One. They'll never call out to God. I'll teach all of you about God's power. I won't hide the things the Mighty One does. You have seen those things yourselves. Why do you continue to use useless talk? Here's what God does to sinful people. Here's what those who are mean receive from the Mighty One. All their children will be killed by swords. They'll never have enough to eat. A plague will kill those who are left alive. The widows of sinful men won't even weep over their own children. Sinners might store up silver like dust and clothes like piles of clay, but people who do what is wrong will wear those clothes. People who haven't done anything wrong will divide up that silver. The house an evil person builds is like a moth's cocoon. It's like a hole that is made by someone on guard duty. Sinful people lie down wealthy, but their wealth is taken away. When they open their eyes, everything is gone. Terrors sweep over them like a flood. A storm takes them away during the night. The east wind carries them off, and they are gone. It sweeps them out of their houses. It blows against them without mercy. They try to escape from its power. It claps its hands and makes fun of them. It hisses them out of their houses. There are mines where silver is found. There are places where gold is purified. Iron is taken out of the earth. Copper is melted down from ore. Human beings light up the darkness. They search for ore in the deepest pits. They look for it in the blackest darkness. Far from where people live, they cut a tunnel. They do it in places where other people don't go. Far away from people, they swing back and forth on ropes. Food grows on the surface of the earth, but far below the earth is changed as if by fire. Lapis lazuli is taken away from the rocky earth. Its dust contains nuggets of gold. No bird knows that hidden path. No falcon's eyes have seen it. Proud animals don't walk on it. Lions don't prowl there. Human hands attack the hardest rock. Their strong hands uncover the base of the mountains. They tunnel through the rock. Their eyes see all its treasures. They search the places where the rivers begin. They bring hidden things out into light. But where can wisdom be found? Where does understanding live? No human being understands how much it's worth. It can't be found anywhere in the world. The ocean says it's not in me. The sea says it's not here either. It can't be bought with the finest gold. Its price can't be weighed out in silver. It can't be brought with gold from Ophir. It can't be bought with pieces of onyx or lapis lazuli. Gold or crystal can't compare with it. It can't be brought with jewels made of gold. Don't bother to talk about coral or jasper. Wisdom is worth far more than rubies. A topaz from Cush can't compare with it. It can't be bought with the purest gold. So where does wisdom come from? Where does understanding live? It's hidden from the eyes of every living thing. Even the birds in the sky can't find it. Death and the grave say, only reports about it have reached our ears. But God understands the way to it. He is the only one who knows where it lives. He sees from one end of the earth to the other. He views everything in the world. He made the mighty wind. He measured out the waters. He gave orders for the rain to fall. He made paths for the thunderstorms. Then he looked at wisdom and set its price. He established it and tested it. He said to human beings, have respect for the Lord. That will prove you are wise. Avoid evil. That will show you have understanding. I keep saying his final speech. How I long for the times when things were better. That's when God watched over me. The light of his lamp shone on me. Let me see this. Let me go to the next one. Because I know what this is about. The book is almost finished.
You read the whole book of Job?
I read almost everything Job has said between last week and this week. He's still talking. We're going to stop here. I'm looking for Elihu. Who was Elihu? I'm looking for when it says God speaks. If it says it. So yeah, 4 friends. Or a 4th friend came. There we go. So I'm going to stop where we stopped at for now. So a 4th friend comes and has some stuff to say. We stopped at 29. Woo. I like verse 20. I like chapter 28. I'm guessing this is Job talking. This is the wrap-up portion. As far as character studies, the current status is the 3 friends done. Job still got stuff to say. Elihu comes and says something, and then God speaks. I thought after Job speaks, after the 3 friends, I thought God speaks. I read it, but I don't remember Elihu saying. I don't remember Elihu coming up and saying something. Just when we talk about the stories, it's just Job and his 3 friends. Eliphaz, Bildad, and Zophar. But chapter 28, I like a lot. It breaks down how when people search for silver, when people search for riches, they search for gold, they search for rubies, whatever you're looking for that's considered of value. We'll go into dark places. We go into places where birds who have, I guess, eagles with great eyesight can't see. Will dig down into the earth, create mines and shafts, and go find this gold and stuff. And whatever we bring out, and has value. And then it says, but where can you find wisdom? Like comparing it to how people dig down deep to find gold, and how people dig deep for their businesses, dig deep for their wealth. They dig deep. They sacrifice spouses to get rich. Some ignore children and push children and families to the side to get rich, to get this wealthy thing. But the ocean doesn't know where wisdom is found. The things that are so old in this earth can't tell you where to find it. And then it says you find it, and God knows where it is. I think chapter 28 is a good beginning of messages. So far, everything before here has been a conversation. People talking, saying how they feel, saying what they think, saying what they assume towards Job, accusing him to a large extent. Then it's been Job complaining, being depressed, wanting to give up, saying he knows God is all-powerful, defending himself, ready to go to court with God. Like, up until this point, this is the first pure form of learning from Job. It's way in chapter 28. Everything else before this has been, other than the first 2 chapters, everything else has been just what people feel. What people feel about things, about situations, what they've noticed, what they've realized. And they're not even the best sources of adhering to when it comes down to looking for wisdom in the Bible, because they're double tongued. On one hand, God is great. On the other hand, why would God do this to me? Like, on one hand, one thing's for certain, he never cursed God, which is what Satan believed he would do. It's just give up and curse God. That was a lot of reading. Done for tonight.
I'm sorry. So the last part of 28, the last couple of words basically says the whole thing. And now it made me wonder, oh man, I don't even know if that's what it was, but I saw something about
the last on the left side, 27 and 28.
The fear of the Lord is wisdom, and to stay away from evil is understanding. So it made me think, with all of people talking and saying the same thing, to me the same thing over and over in a different way, and did they ever try to tell Job, well, how could you feel that way? Don't you dislike the Lord for what he did? So-called friends, I guess. That's the whole thing, right? Fear of the Lord is wisdom, and to depart from evil is understanding, right there.
I think this is Job talking here too. Though the chapter before this is his last response to his friends, and then the chapter after this is his last response period, I guess, which we didn't read. We read every response. I read every response from after every friend who spoke. Job had a response. Job had something to say. At one time, did he just let them say something and he stayed quiet? And he said it in a couple of them. He's not going to stay quiet. He's going to say something. He's going to speak up when he feels like he's being wronged. So that is what he did. After every friend said something, he spoke up. Shared a little bit about his depression. Shared a little bit about what he felt. Said how he sees things. This is after 7 days of silence. Guess they all had a lot to say while they were sitting there quietly. Job was very critical and direct about his friends. And you guys are not helping me right now at all. Well,
it seemed like he internalized the whole thing. And he wasn't really happy about what he was going through. you would think that deep down he would feel some kind of way because he was going through what he was going through.
Mm-hmm.
And to say that, take my life away, I don't want to be here, I don't feel like I need to feel this way, kind of to me was a way of, not just sitting there and saying, whatever you do, Lord, I trust in you.
Mm-hmm.
So give me all the misery you got, because I trust in you.
No.
I didn't know Job complained so much along his misery.
Yeah.
That's another thing I didn't know. That's what I guess it happens when you just hear the story, but you don't hear all the stuff that goes also in it.
Yeah.
It seems almost contradictory in a sense, but
Do you remember Job complaining as much?
I mean, when they tell the story, they never say how much he complained.
I remember reading, but not. I haven't read the book in a long time, so
Yeah, me
I
neither.
can't remember what I remember.
I mean, I guess Job is human, human in the sense that, you're not going to curse the Lord, but
He's got feelings. He's got emotions.
and he's not as strong
As the stories make you feel like he was.
And I never heard of stories.
Well, what we know essentially is he never cursed God, which is true. He never cursed God. And so a lot can be interpreted from that, saying, painting him in a way that he was a good, righteous person and he never said anything or he never came off wrong. But we see when we read it, he did come off wrong a couple times. To me, one of the biggest come off wrongs is like he had the confidence, or you could see it as pride. He had the confidence that he could go to God and plead his case, and he would be proven guiltless. Like he'd be proven not guilty.
Is this prior to the Ten Commandments?
Yeah. This is way before the Ten Commandments.
Okay, because then I'm thinking about him talking about he wants to die, Thou shalt not kill even yourself.
I gave him almost a couple times. He gave a time frame. I know by next year I'm not gonna be here. Type of stuff. Like saying things like. But he did say he was so skinny he barely cast a shadow too.
He kept saying that.
It sounds like a joke.
No, he kept saying he's skin and bones.
I don't think it was a joke.
No, hear me. Oh, you so skinny, you don't even cast a shadow.
No,
He said it about himself.
I'm just saying, even still, it's like
It sound like a joke?
Yeah, it sound like a joke. When you turn sideways, you disappear. I'm so skinny.
He's saying his health is frail. That was just his illustration of his health is frail, so I don't believe he'll be there.
So where is the part that explains that after he did all this, he got back everything?
At the very end.
And we ain't at the end yet?
No. Wherever. This is chapter 28. It's at least 10 more chapters. I just jumped ahead. Saw that there's at least probably 10 more chapters.
After this is
After this. Job speaks again. Then I think he speaks some more after that. Well, he speaks again and speaks for 3 more chapters. Then a friend named Elihu comes and speaks. And I guess I got so far mixed up with Elihu. I think Elihu sounds more friendly. I'm not sure. Anyway, then Elihu speaks for a couple of chapters. And then I think Job speaks one more time, and then God speaks. So yeah, at least 10 more chapters. That's what I'm stopping here. I wanted to get through everything Job had to say, so that it's done, so that next week we just finish off with what God says, and God lays down exactly what everything's about. and explains exactly what all of this was about. But Job talks a lot in his book, Job, that he says he wishes was written down.